You have arrived at the edge of things, a place where the world you know exhales and grows quiet. It is not a sudden boundary, not a line drawn in the sand, but a slow, pervasive fading. The clamor of life, the ceaseless hum of machinery and hurry has receded behind you, kilometer by kilometer, until all that remains is a faint, subliminal vibration, more a memory of sound than sound itself. Before you lies a soft, hazy frontier, where the air itself seems to be the primary substance of the world, thick with silence and the accumulated warmth of a long, sun-drenched day. You are standing before a low, crumbling wall, a forgotten perimeter on the immense and patient Giza Plateau. It is a structure made of the earth itself, of sun-baked mud brick and rough-hewn sandy stone, and it seems to be slowly, gracefully surrendering itself back to the desert from which it was born. The sun is a great molten weight in the western sky, beginning its slow, majestic descent towards the unseen horizon. Its light is no longer the sharp, inquisitive glare of midday. It has become a thick, honeyed fluid, a gentle and forgiving wash of gold that pours over the landscape. It anoints every stone, fills every depression with a warm and breathing shadow, and softens every hard edge into a line of gentle grace. This liquid light catches the highest western-facing flanks of the distant, silent mountains of stone, the Great Pyramids, and makes them glow with an internal fire, their familiar, severe geometry rendered dreamlike and insubstantial, as if they were not solid objects, but colossal, golden thoughts taking form against the sky. You can feel the day's immense heat radiating from the ground beneath your feet, a phantom warmth that travels through the soles of your shoes, up through your legs, and into the core of your body. It is the final, generous gift of the departed sun, a slow and steady release of stored energy, the earth sighing out the memory of the light it has held all day. The sand here is not the pale, bleached gold of postcards and travelogues. It is a richer, more complex color, a deep ochre, almost the color of dried blood in this final dramatic light, and it is strewn with a multitude of small, dark stones. These are not jagged, freshly broken shards, but ancient, patient stones that have been polished to a dull, smooth sheen by a wind that never ceases its patient, sculptural work. You allow yourself to bend, your body folding slowly, and you let your fingers brush the surface of the sand. It is impossibly fine, like powdered silk, a substance that seems both solid and fluid at once. It still holds a deep, residual warmth from the fierce afternoon heat, but you can feel the very surface of it beginning to surrender this warmth to the cooling air, a process so slow and subtle you can feel it as a faint, energetic tingle on your skin. A faint breeze stirs, the first true breath of the coming evening. It is a whisper that comes from across the vast, open space to the west, from the deep, empty heart of the Sahara. It carries no sounds of the human world, no traffic, no voices, no distant sirens. It carries only the vast, empty song of the desert itself, a sound that is older than any language, older than any human ear that first heard it. It is a sigh that has passed over these sands for eons, the sound of the planet breathing in its sleep. And here, in the burgeoning quiet, you find your own breath. You become aware of it as if for the first time. You feel the air enter your lungs, cool and clean, and tasting faintly of dust and distance. You feel it leave your body as a warm, slow sigh, your own small, living sound joining the ancient, elemental whisper of the wind. Your breath and the wind's breath, for a moment, become one. Before you, in the crumbling expanse of the ancient wall, there is a space that is not quite a gate, not quite an archway. It is simply a place where the wall has grown tired, where it has surrendered to the relentless, gentle persuasion of time. Its stones and bricks have tumbled down, not in a violent collapse, but in a slow, graceful cascade, creating a gentle, inviting slope that leads from the world outside to the world within. This is the threshold. It is humble, unassuming, stripped of all ceremony and grandeur, yet you feel that it marks a profound transition. To step through it is to consciously leave behind the measured, hurried, and anxious rhythm of your own time, and to enter a place that keeps a different count, a cadence measured in the slow, silent drift of constellations, the patient erosion of stone, and the unhurried blossoming of the desert night. You feel a gentle, irresistible pull towards it, a curiosity that is calm and unhurried, a sense of homecoming to a place you have never been. You take a single, deliberate step, and then another, your feet finding easy and solid purchase on the fallen blocks, which form a natural, rustic stair. You reach out a hand to steady yourself, and the stone beneath your palm is rough and pitted, its surface a miniature landscape of tiny craters and valleys. Yet it is warm, with a deep, living warmth, like the flank of some great, sleeping animal. It feels solid, real, an anchor of pure physical sensation in this place of golden light and lengthening ethereal shadows. As you pass through the opening, the world changes. The change is subtle, not a sudden dramatic shift, but a deepening of the silence, a palpable thickening of the air with a sense of profound and ancient peace. The low background hum of the distant world, which you were not even aware of until it was gone, is now absent completely. It has been replaced by the hushed, intimate movements of the air around you and the faint, rhythmic, and strangely satisfying sound of your own quiet footsteps in the soft sand. You are inside. You are in a different quality of silence, a different quality of time. You are walking now on a path that is barely a path at all. It is a slight, shallow depression in the sand, a faint, meandering ribbon of darker, more compressed earth that winds its way from the broken wall and out into the open, empty heart of the plateau. It is a path that speaks not of commerce or conquest, not of the determined, straight-line march of many feet, but perhaps of the slow, repeated, and contemplative wanderings of a lone guardian. Long ago, or the gentle, artistic shaping of the wind as it finds its preferred channel between low-lying, sleeping rocks. You follow this winding way, and your focus, which had been on the vast horizon, now narrows to the ground immediately before you. You become aware of the incredible, intricate detail in the sand at your feet. You notice the way that tiny, sparkling grains of mica and quartz catch the very last, horizontal rays of the sun, flashing for a brilliant, ephemeral moment, like a universe of fallen stars. You see the delicate, lace-like tracks of a desert beetle, a secret and beautiful calligraphy written in the dust, a message that will be erased by the morning breeze. You see a stone, no larger than your palm, that is a perfect, smooth ovoid, its surface a complex mosaic of deep, smoky gray and veins of pale, milky white. It is a miniature world, a planet in miniature, shaped and polished by the patient, ceaseless caress of sand and wind over countless forgotten seasons. You pause in your walking and crouch down, the world shrinking to the space of this single, perfect stone. You let your fingertips trace its cool, impossibly smooth surface. It feels like silk, but with a weight, a density that speaks of its immense age. There is a feeling of time itself compressed and held within its simple, elegant form. Holding it in your palm, you feel a direct physical connection to the sheer geological slowness of this place. Everything here speaks of a patience that is beyond human comprehension. The stone, the sand, the pyramids themselves have all learned to wait. They have waited for empires to rise and fall, for languages to be born and to die, for the very stars in the sky to shift their positions. The stillness of this place deepens, and your own breath follows its lead. It slows, it softens, it deepens, until it seems to find the patient, enduring rhythm of the stone you are holding in your hand. Lifting your gaze, you see that the faint path is leading you towards a secluded area, a place where the flat, featureless expanse of the plateau gives way to a cluster of low, weathered rock formations. They are not grand or imposing like the monuments on the horizon, but they rise from the sand like ancient, sleeping creatures, their backs hunched against the vast, open sky. They have the presence of elders, of silent witnesses. Between them, they create a natural sanctuary, a space that is sheltered from the open plain and the endless wind. It feels like the desert's quiet and patient answer to a grove of sacred trees. As you draw closer, you can see the artistry of the wind in its finest detail. It has carved the soft limestone into fantastic, fluid shapes, smooth, deep hollows that look like giant thumbprints, sharp, delicate fins that seem too thin to exist, and intricate, paper-thin ledges that overhang in defiance of gravity. The stone is a pale, creamy color, the very same stone that was quarried and used to build the colossal forms that loom in the distance. But here it is, in its natural, untamed state, shaped only by the patient, invisible hands of the elements. You step into the space between the rocks, and the atmosphere changes instantly. The air becomes completely still, the light profoundly soft. The direct rays of the setting sun are blocked now, and you are enveloped in a cool, deep purple shadow. The silence here is of a different order altogether. It is profound. It is not an absence of sound, but a powerful, palpable presence. It is a silence that you can feel, a gentle but firm pressure against your eardrums, against your skin. It is a quiet that seems to absorb all extraneous thought, leaving only a sense of pure, simple, unadorned being. You find a smooth, worn ledge that seems perfectly shaped for sitting, its surface indented and polished by centuries of wind and perhaps, long ago, by those seeking refuge. As you settle onto the cool, solid stone, you lean back against the larger rock behind you, feeling its immense, steady, and indifferent weight supporting you completely. This place feels hidden, secret, and sacred in its own quiet way. It is said that long ago, the priests and the architects, the great minds behind the vast monuments, would come to places just like this to think, to meditate, to find the clarity and inspiration they needed away from the deafening noise and ceaseless toil of the building sites. You can almost feel the faint, psychic echo of their presence, a subtle resonance in the still air. You can imagine a man, his head wrapped in fine white linen to shield him from the sun, his face lined with the intensity of his calculations, sitting right where you are sitting now. His gaze would have been fixed on the rising geometric miracle on the horizon, his mind wrestling with immense problems of weight and leverage and alignment with the distant, silent stars. But perhaps he was not thinking of logistics at all. Perhaps he came here simply to feel the same profound peace that you are feeling now, to let the great, cleansing silence of the desert wash over his weary mind, to reconnect with the timeless spirit of this sacred ground before returning to his monumental work. You allow your eyes to close for a moment, and you listen. You listen past the sound of your own breath, past the faint, high-pitched ringing in your own ears. You listen for the memory of sound, for the echoes held in the stone. You can almost hear the gentle, dry scrape of a reed pen moving across a sheet of papyrus. You can almost hear the soft, dignified rustle of linen robes moving in a breeze that has been still for 4,000 years. You can almost hear the quiet, focused murmur of a prayer, or a complex mathematical calculation spoken aloud to the listening, unjudging stones. These are not ghosts in a frightening sense. They are gentle, indelible impressions left upon the stillness, the quiet, psychic residue of lives lived with an immense and unified purpose. They are the fainter, more complex harmonics that resonate beneath the great, silent, fundamental chord of the desert. The purpose of this place was to begin something of unimaginable scale, to lay a foundation not just of physical stone, but of a powerful, unifying belief. And in this small, secluded grove of rock, you can feel the very essence of that beginning, the quiet contemplation, the deep, unwavering focus, the profound and necessary peace that must precede any great and lasting act of creation. You open your eyes. The patch of sky visible between the rocks above you has deepened to a velvety, luminous indigo, and the first, hesitant star has appeared, a tiny, perfect, and unwavering diamond of light. The great pyramids on the horizon are no longer glowing with the sun's fire. They have become vast, dark, two-dimensional triangles, their sharp, perfect lines etched with stark clarity against the fading, bruised colors of the twilight. They have shed their daytime appearance as works of man and have now become part of the landscape itself, as elemental and mysterious as the mountains or the deep sea. They are no longer mere structures, they are presences. They seem to be absorbing the stillness of the coming night, drawing it into their immense, dark hearts. You let your hand rest again on the stone beside you. It is cooler now, having relinquished its stored heat and begun to absorb the deep chill of the desert night. You trace the intricate, swirling patterns that have been etched into its surface by the relentless wind, lines that look like ancient, cryptic maps of forgotten river systems or the spiraling arms of distant galaxies. You realize that each tiny line is the result of a single grain of sand, or 10,000 grains of sand, striking the exact same spot, over and over and over again, for 100 years, 1,000 years, perhaps 10,000 years. It is a sculpture carved by a force that is both infinitely gentle in its individual components and infinitely, unimaginably persistent in its application. And it occurs to you, with the force of a quiet revelation, that to be here is to learn the desert's most profound and simple lesson, that the greatest and most lasting transformations are wrought not by sudden, violent force, but by the patient, relentless application of small, gentle things. That stillness is not emptiness, but a state of infinite and calm potential. You feel the ancient calm of this place seep into you, and you breathe with it, a slow, deep, and satisfying breath that fills you with the cool, clean, and purifying air of the desert night. It is a breath that seems to connect you to the silent, watchful star above and the patient, waiting stone beneath. You are at the threshold, and you have crossed over. You are here. The journey has truly begun. The air continues to cool, a gentle, refreshing balm after the day's persistent heat. The stone against your back is a solid, grounding presence, a constant reminder of the earth's deep stability. Your senses, sharpened by the profound silence, begin to perceive the world in a new way, with a heightened clarity and a quiet reverence. The single star in the indigo sky is now joined by another, and then another, a slow, silent blossoming of light across the vast, dark canvas. You watch them appear, not with the searching curiosity of an astronomer, but with the simple, peaceful awe of a child. They seem so close, so brilliant in the dry, clear air, as if you could simply reach out and touch their distant, steady fire. The wind, which had been a mere whisper, now seems to be finding a slightly deeper voice. It moves through the channels and hollows of the rocks around you, creating a low, resonant hum, a kind of music. It is a sound that has no melody, no rhythm, only a constant, soothing tone that seems to vibrate in the very marrow of your bones. It is the Earth's own lullaby. You let your gaze drift from the stars and down towards the immense dark shapes on the horizon. They seem to have grown in the deepening twilight, their power and mystery amplified by the darkness. You can no longer see their texture, their individual blocks of stone, their imperfections. They are now pure form, perfect geometry, a testament to an idea so powerful it could command mountains of stone to be moved and shaped. What was it like, you wonder, to see them grow? Not as a tourist sees them, complete and ancient, but to watch them rise, year by year, a slow, inexorable ascension towards the sun. To be a part of something so vast, so far beyond the span of a single human life. The imaginative layer of your mind begins to stir, not with facts and figures, but with feelings. with the resonant echoes of a shared human experience. You imagine the sheer collective will that it took, the shared belief that fueled a nation for generations. It wasn't just the work of kings and architects. It was the work of thousands of ordinary people, whose hands laid these stones, whose minds solved the endless puzzles of their construction, whose lives were given meaning by their participation in this colossal, sacred task. You feel a gentle urge to move, to continue your journey from this quiet, contemplative space and draw a little closer to the heart of the mystery. You rise from your stone seat, your movements slow and deliberate, careful not to disturb the profound peace of the grove. As you step out from the shelter of the rocks, the vastness of the plateau opens up before you once again. The moon has begun to rise, not yet visible, but its gentle, silvery light is beginning to spill over the eastern horizon, backlighting the distant, hazy ridge of the Mokattam Hills. This nascent moonlight casts the desert in a new and ethereal glow, a wash of pale silver and deep, soft shadows. The sand under your feet seems to shine, and the dark, polished stones scattered upon it glint like pools of oil. You find the faint path again, or rather, your feet seem to find it for you, and you continue your slow, walking meditation. The primary sensory focus shifts now from the solid, grounding touch of the stone to the vast, open expanse of the sky and the subtle play of this new lunar light. The air feels different out here, more active. The wind moves with greater freedom, and you can feel it on your face and hands, cool and alive. It tugs gently at your clothes, a constant, soft pressure that makes you feel as if you are wading through an invisible river. The sound of the wind is different too. Away from the rocks, its low hum is gone, replaced by a higher, softer shushing sound as it sweeps over the endless surface of the sand. Like the tide receding from a silent shore, your path begins to descend slightly, leading you down a gentle, almost imperceptible slope. The Great Pyramids, from this lower vantage point, seem to rise even higher, their peaks piercing the star-dusted canopy of the sky. It is here that you begin to sense a change in the ground beneath your feet. The soft sand is becoming firmer, more packed, and you can feel flat, smooth surfaces under the thin layer of dust. You are walking on buried stones, the remnants of ancient walkways and foundations. You have left the wild, untamed edge of the plateau and are now entering the precincts of the monumental complex itself. The presence of the past becomes more tangible here, more immediate. You are no longer just an observer in a timeless landscape. You are walking on the very ground where a civilization lived and breathed and built its bridge to eternity. You can almost feel the shift in the atmosphere, a transition from the purely natural silence of the desert to a silence that is filled with the ghosts of human intention. You are approaching the place where the echoes of life are strongest. Your path is leading you towards a vast, flat area at the foot of the smallest of the three Great Pyramids. This was a place of immense activity, a city of its own, dedicated to the service of the gods and the departed kings. Now, all that remains are the low, skeletal outlines of walls, the faint impressions of streets, the ghosts of buildings sleeping under a blanket of sand. But if you are still, and you listen with more than your ears, you can begin to feel the vibrant life that once filled this space. You pause, standing in what might have been a courtyard or a wide avenue. You let the cool night air settle around you. The moon is higher now, a perfect gleaming crescent, and its light is growing stronger, casting your own long, faint shadow on the ground before you. You focus on that shadow, on your own silent presence in this immense empty space. And then, gently, you let your imagination begin to reconstruct the scene, not as it is now, but as it was. You are prompted not by knowledge, but by the feeling of the place itself. The air seems to thicken with the imagined scent of wood smoke from 1,000 cooking fires, the aroma of baking bread, the faint, sharp smell of incense drifting from a nearby temple. The silence seems to give way to a low, pervasive murmur, the sound of a sleeping city, the distant barking of a dog, the soft call of a night watchman, the gentle, rhythmic sound of a potter's wheel still turning late into the night. This is not a haunting. It is a gentle remembering, a resonance. The stones themselves seem to hold these memories, and in the deep quiet of the desert night, they release them for those who are willing to listen. You feel the profound continuity of human life. The people who lived here 4,500 years ago were not so different from you. They felt the same cool night air on their skin. They looked up at the same moon, the same steadfast stars. They knew love and loss and friendship and the quiet satisfaction of a day's work well done. They gathered in spaces like this at the end of the day to talk, to share a meal, to simply be together under the vast, watchful sky. You feel the ancient calm settle over you once more, a peace that comes from this deep, intuitive connection to the past, and you breathe with it. You breathe in the cool, silvered air, and you imagine you are breathing the same air that filled the lungs of the artisans and the priests. You breathe out, and your own small, warm cloud of life merges with the vast, cool emptiness of the night, becoming one with the countless breaths that have been sighed into this space over millennia. You are a part of the story of this place now, a quiet visitor who has come to listen, to feel, and to remember. The threshold has been crossed, and the path is leading you deeper, not just into a place of ancient stones, but into the very heart of a timeless human dream. The journey inward continues, one slow, quiet step at a time. The world of the present is a distant memory, a forgotten dream. The only reality is the cool sand under your feet, the silver light of the moon, the deep, resonant silence, and the gentle, persistent whisper of time itself. The moonlight has now claimed the landscape, transforming it utterly. The ochre and gold of sunset are long gone, replaced by a stark, beautiful palette of silver and charcoal. Every contour of the ground, every rise and fall, is thrown into sharp relief. The pyramids are no longer black silhouettes, but are now bathed in a soft, ethereal glow, their limestone faces seeming to absorb the moonlight and hold it within. The shadows they cast are immense, dark pools of mystery that stretch for what seems like miles across the desert floor. You are walking along the edge of one of these great shadows, with the cool darkness on one side and the brightly lit sand on the other. It feels like walking on the shore of a silent, motionless sea. Your feet, guided by the unseen path, lead you on. The air is so still now that you can hear the faint, crisp whisper of your own clothing as you move. It is a small, intimate sound. In the vast emptiness, you continue to feel the presence of buried structures beneath the sand, the hard, flat resistance of paving stones that have not seen the sun for centuries. The area you are in feels more organized, more intentional. You are entering the spectral outline of a community. This is where the echoes of daily life become clearer, more defined. It is said that tens of thousands of people lived and worked here, a bustling, vibrant city dedicated to the construction and maintenance of these sacred monuments. A city of artisans, craftsmen, scribes, bakers, and priests. A city now returned to silence and to sand. You come to a stop in a large open space, a great square that is now nothing but a flat expanse of moonlit earth. But you can feel its former shape, its purpose. This was a center, a place of gathering, an agora. You can almost feel the compressed energy of countless interactions, the psychic residue of a marketplace, a meeting place, a communal heart. You close your eyes again, allowing the sensory reality of the present moment, the cool air, the silence, the solid ground to be your anchor. Then, with a gentle focus, you invite the past to surface. The first thing you sense is not a sight, but a sound. A low, continuous hum of human activity. It is not loud or jarring. but a rich, layered tapestry of sound. You can begin to distinguish the individual threads, the rhythmic clang of a coppersmith's hammer, distant but clear in the dry air, the gentle, percussive sound of stone being chipped and shaped by a sculptor's chisel, the murmur of voices engaged in commerce, the melodic rise and fall of bartering over sacks of grain, dried fish from the Nile, or lengths of fine white linen. You can hear the laughter of children playing a game with stones in a dusty corner, their high, clear voices a counterpoint to the deeper tones of the adults. There is the braying of a donkey, laden with water skins, being led through the crowd, and the soft, rhythmic creak of a wooden cart's wheels. These sounds are not chaotic. They have a rhythm, a pulse. It is the heartbeat of a community, a sound of purposeful, shared existence. Then come the smells. The dust of the square is no longer just the clean, dry scent of the desert. It is mixed with 1,000 other aromas. The rich, earthy smell of wet clay from a potter's stall, the sharp, savory scent of garlic and onions being cooked over an open fire, the sweet, heavy fragrance of dates and figs piled high in woven baskets. And beneath it all, the ever-present, life-giving smell of the Nile, a damp, fecund scent carried on the breeze from the distant, unseen river, a reminder of the source of all life in this arid land. You can almost feel the heat and the energy of this imagined scene, the press of bodies, the shared warmth of life. It is a vision not of hardship and toil, but of a community that is vibrant, organized, and deeply alive. The people here were not slaves. They were skilled workers, builders of a shared dream, and their lives in this imagined moment are filled with a simple, profound dignity. You feel yourself drawn towards one of the sources of this imagined activity, towards the rhythmic sound of the potter's wheel. You walk slowly across the open square, your feet treading on the very spot where these stalls and workshops once stood. You stop at a place where the outline of a small square building is still visible, a line of foundation stones just breaking the surface of the sand. This was a workshop. You can feel the focused, creative energy that was once contained within these now vanished walls. You sit on one of the low foundation stones, its surface worn smooth by the ages. The stone is cool and solid beneath you. Here, you focus your imaginative senses on a single artisan, a potter. You can see him in your mind's eye. He is sitting at a low, foot-powered wheel, his body leaning forward in concentration. His hands, covered in a fine gray slip of clay, move with a liquid grace that is mesmerizing to watch. There is no wasted motion, no hesitation. His knowledge is not in his head. It is in his hands, in his muscles. A deep, cellular understanding of his craft passed down through generations. You watch as a lump of formless, wet earth on the wheel begins to respond to the gentle, insistent pressure of his fingers. It rises, a slowly spinning column, and then, with a delicate touch from his thumb, it begins to open, to blossom like a flower. The walls thin, swell outwards into a graceful curve, then turn inwards to form the neck of a jar. You focus on the micro details of this imagined scene, the sound of the wheel, a soft, rhythmic whirring, the faint, wet sound of the clay moving against his hands, the way the muscles in his forearms tense and relax with each subtle movement, the look of deep, quiet focus on his face, his eyes narrowed, his entire being poured into this single act of creation. He is not just making a jar, he is giving form to an idea, transforming the raw, chaotic substance of the earth into an object of beauty and utility, an object that will hold water, or grain, or oil, an object that will be a part of another family's daily life. There is a profound honesty in this work, a direct connection between the hand, the mind, and the material world. It is a quiet, meditative act, a form of worship in its own right, the beauty of shared, simple human experience, the quiet dignity of skilled hands. You let the image of the potter gently fade, and you turn your attention to another sound, the sharp, rhythmic tink, tink, tink of metal on stone. Nearby, you imagine the workshop of a sculptor or an engraver. Here, the energy is different. It is not the fluid grace of the potter, but a more percussive, focused force. You see a man, his face shielded from the sun by a linen cloth, kneeling before a large block of limestone. In one hand, he holds a bronze chisel. In the other, a heavy wooden mallet. He is carving hieroglyphs, the sacred text that will adorn a temple wall or a tomb. His movements are precise, economical, and powerful. Each strike of the mallet sends a small shower of white dust into the air, which hangs for a moment like a cloud before settling. You lean closer in your imagination, focusing on the detail of his work. You see the deep, clean V shape of the cut he is making in the stone. He is carving the symbol for a falcon, the image of the god Horus. You see the elegant, curving line of the bird's head, the sharp, powerful beak, the piercing, watchful eye. It is an image you have seen 1,000 times in books and museums, but to see it being born from the raw stone, to witness the skill and the faith that it takes to bring it to life, is to understand it in a new and profound way. This is not mere decoration. It is an act of magic, an act of making the divine manifest in the material world. Each line, each curve, is part of a sacred language, a way of speaking across the veil to the gods, to eternity itself. The artisan is not just a carver, he is a conduit, a vessel through which the sacred becomes visible. The stillness deepens, and your breath follows. You are no longer just an observer of this imagined past. You are a participant in its quiet dignity. You feel the potter's focused calm, the sculptor's powerful precision. You feel the deep, grounding satisfaction that comes from skilled work, from the creation of something real and lasting with your own hands. These echoes of life are not just historical artifacts. They are living energies, imprinted upon this place, and they speak to a timeless human need. The need to create, to build, to leave a mark, to be a part of something larger than oneself. Your journey continues, leading you away from the imagined workshops and through a network of what feel like narrow residential streets. The low walls here are closer together, creating channels for the cool night breeze to flow. You can imagine these as alleys bustling with life during the day, now quiet and empty under the moon. And then you hear it, a new sound, one that is not imagined, the gentle, musical sound of trickling water. It is a faint sound, but in the profound silence, it is as clear as a bell. You follow the sound, a sense of gentle anticipation rising within you. Water in the desert is life itself, a miracle, a blessing. The sound leads you to a place where the ground dips, and in the center of a small, circular plaza, you see it. A single, thin stream of water is bubbling up from a fissure in a large, flat stone and is trickling down its side to collect in a shallow, circular basin carved from the same rock. The water in the basin is perfectly still, and it reflects the crescent moon and the bright stars with a perfect, liquid clarity. This is a public fountain, a well, the communal source of life. The stone around the basin is dark and damp, and you can see that its edge has been worn into a deep, smooth groove by the countless clay jars that have been rested upon it over the centuries. You kneel by the side of the basin and dip your fingers into the water. It is shockingly cold, a deep, subterranean cold that speaks of hidden springs and deep aquifers. The touch of the water on your skin is electrifying, a sudden, vivid shock of pure sensation that brings you fully and completely into the present moment. You are no longer imagining the past. You are here, now, touching this ancient, living water. For a moment, the structural variety rule is in play. The imaginative, historical layer is omitted, and you are focused purely on the sensory reality of this moment. The coldness of the water, the smoothness of the stone, the perfect reflection of the night sky. the gentle, continuous music of the source. This water has been flowing for a long, long time. You can feel the timelessness of it. It flowed for the builders of the pyramids. It slaked their thirst. It mixed their mortar. It washed the dust from their faces at the end of a long day's work. You can almost feel the presence of the people who gathered here. This was not just a place to get water. It was a place to meet, to talk, to share news, to rest for a moment in the cool, damp air. You can imagine the women of the village gathering here in the cool of the morning, their voices a soft murmur as they fill their heavy jars, their children playing at their feet. You can imagine a tired stonemason, his body aching from his labors, kneeling where you are kneeling now, splashing the cool water on his face and neck, feeling its life-giving relief. This simple trickling spring was the center of their world in so many ways. It was a place of connection to the earth, to its hidden life, and to each other. Looking into the basin, seeing the stars reflected there, is like looking into a microcosm of the universe. The vast cosmic scale of the heavens is brought down to earth, held in this small, perfect circle of water. It is a place of profound peace, a place where the elemental and the communal come together. You feel the ancient calm, and you breathe with it. You watch the steady, gentle bubbling of the source, a constant, quiet pulse, the slow, steady heartbeat of the living desert. You stay there for a long time, mesmerized by the sound and the sight, feeling the deep, refreshing peace of the water seep into your very being. The echoes of life have led you here, to the source. And here, at the source, you find a deep and abiding stillness. The second part of your journey closes on this image, the constant, gentle flow of ancient water, holding the light of the distant stars in its cool, dark embrace. You return to the quiet spring. The air is cool, and the scent of damp earth remains, a refreshing counterpoint to the dry desert air. The gentle, musical sound of the trickling water is a constant, soothing presence, a thread of liquid music woven into the deep fabric of the silence. You are kneeling still, your gaze lost in the small, circular basin, where the perfect, unwavering light of the distant stars shimmers on the dark surface. You feel the ancient calm, and you breathe with it, a slow, deep rhythm that seems to align with the steady, quiet pulse of the water bubbling up from the earth. The energy of the imagined community, the vibrant echoes of life and craft, has softened now, receding into a gentle, background hum, leaving you in this place of elemental peace. The memories of this place are not gone, but they are settling, like fine dust, becoming part of the landscape itself. You rise slowly, your body feeling rested and calm. You take one last look at the basin of starlit water, a final sip of its profound tranquility, before turning to continue your journey. You leave the low-lying area of the workers' village and the life-giving spring behind, and begin to walk again, your path now starting a long, gradual ascent up the gentle slope of the plateau. The ground beneath your feet changes once more. The buried flagstones and foundations of the city give way to a more uneven surface of bedrock and deep sand. You are moving away from the spaces of community and craft, and towards the grand, ceremonial heart of the complex. The place is built not for the living, but for eternity. The style of the world around you is changing. A slow tide of transformation seems to be washing over the landscape, a tide of time itself. The primary metaphors that come to mind are geological, seasonal. You feel like you are walking on the floor of a shallow, ancient sea, where the structures around you are not so much ruins as they are reefs, once teeming with a different kind of life, now slowly being reclaimed by the patient, elemental forces of sand and wind. The language of your thoughts becomes more continuous, more progressive. The sharp, clear moments of the past were drifting away, and a new, quieter meaning was settling upon the stones. Before you, rising like a pale cliff in the moonlight, is the long, high wall of a mortuary temple. This was a place of ritual, of transition, a gateway between the world of the living and the world of the gods. The wall is made of enormous, perfectly fitted blocks of limestone, a testament to the incredible skill of its builders. But as you draw closer, you see the slow work of transformation. The once sharp edges of the blocks have been softened and rounded by the wind. The smooth, polished surface is now pitted and scarred, a canvas upon which millennia of weather have painted a masterpiece of decay. And here and there, clinging to the stone in the most sheltered corners, you can see the faint, ghostly remnants of color. You have arrived at what was once a great painted stoa, a covered colonnade whose walls were once ablaze with vibrant scenes and sacred texts. Now, it is a gallery of ghosts. You walk along the base of the wall, your hand trailing against the cool, rough stone. The moonlight is bright enough that you can make out the faded pigments, the deep, earthy red of ochre, the cool, celestial blue of ground lapis lazuli, the stark, pure white of gypsum, and the rich, velvety black of soot. Most of the images have been erased by the sun and the abrasive sand, but in one protected section, under the overhang of a great lintel stone, a fragment of a scene remains. You stop and focus on this single, small area. This becomes a segment dedicated to a single micro detail. Your eyes adjust to the low light, and you begin to trace the faint lines. You can see the outline of a human figure, rendered in the classic, formal style of the ancient artists. The figure is in profile, its arms outstretched in a gesture of offering, and on the wall in front of the figure, you can make out a single, perfectly carved hieroglyph. It is the Ankh, the symbol of life. You lean in closer, your face just inches from the stone. You are not trying to read it or decipher it in an academic sense. You are simply observing it, feeling it. The symbol itself is an elegant, beautiful form, a simple loop atop a straight, clean cross. But it is the color, or the memory of color, that captivates you. The loop of the Ankh was once filled with a brilliant, vibrant blue, a piece of the eternal sky brought down to earth. Now only the faintest whisper of that blue remains, a ghostly stain that you can only be sure of because you know it should be there. The rest of the symbol, the T-shape below, was outlined in black, and you can still see fragments of that dark line, a broken thread connecting the present to the past. The limestone around the symbol is a pale, bone white, and the contrast between the faded colors and the bare stone is profoundly beautiful, exquisitely melancholic. You trace the shape of the Ankh with your finger, careful not to touch the fragile, painted surface. You can feel the shallow depression of the carved line in the stone. A hand, 4,500 years ago, held a chisel right here and carefully, skillfully, cut this shape. Another hand, with a brush made of reeds, delicately filled that shape with color. An act of faith, a prayer made solid, a statement that life is eternal, a force that transcends death. And now, that statement itself is fading, its voice becoming a whisper. The paint kept settling into dust. The vibrant blue was drifting back into the sky. And yet, it is not a sad sight. There is a new kind of beauty here. A beauty not of pristine perfection, but of graceful survival. The meaning has not been lost. It has been transformed. The Ankh no longer speaks only of the eternal life of a king in the next world. It now speaks of the persistence of memory, the quiet dignity of decay, and the way that even the most powerful human expressions are ultimately reabsorbed by the slow, gentle tides of the natural world. You let your breath be soft and easy. You are breathing with the slow, geological time of the stone. Each inhalation feels like a season passing, each exhalation like a layer of dust settling. You feel the immense, unhurried peace of this transformation. Nothing is ever truly lost. It only changes its form, its language. The vibrant shout of belief has become the soft, poetic whisper of a ruin. You continue your walk, moving away from the painted wall and into what feels like a large enclosed courtyard. The moon is almost directly overhead now, flooding the space with a brilliant silver light. On three sides, you are surrounded by the high, ruined walls of the temple complex. On the fourth side, a row of massive, broken pillars stands like a line of petrified giants, their capitals gone, their bodies scarred and broken. This place, you sense, was once a center of knowledge, perhaps a house of life, a place where scribes studied sacred texts, where astronomers charted the stars, where the wisdom of the ages was recorded on fragile rolls of papyrus. A library, but now it has been transformed into a different kind of library, a different kind of garden. Nature has become the new scribe here. In the cracks between the massive paving stones of the courtyard floor, where dust has collected for centuries, life has taken root. You see clumps of tough, wiry desert grass, their thin blades a pale, silvery green in the moonlight. You see a small, tenacious acacia shrub, its thorny branches creating a delicate, intricate silhouette against the bright stone of the far wall. Its roots, you know, are working their way deep into the foundations of this ancient place, slowly, patiently, dismantling the work of man. You walk to the center of the courtyard and sit down on a fallen block of granite. The air here feels incredibly peaceful, protected. The high walls block the wind, and the silence is absolute. You look at the plants, these quiet, determined colonists. They are not an intrusion. They feel like they belong here now. They are the next chapter in the story of this place. The knowledge that was once stored here on papyrus, knowledge of rituals, genealogies, and hymns to the gods, has faded back into the earth. And in its place, a new, simpler, more elemental wisdom is being written. The wisdom of the root seeking water, the wisdom of the leaf turning towards the light, the wisdom of the thorn protecting its own fragile life. This is the gentlest of reclamations. It is not a violent conquest, but a slow, quiet, and inevitable embrace. The temple is becoming a garden. The library is becoming a landscape. The rigid geometry of human architecture is being softened, blurred, and reclaimed by the patient organic curves of the natural world. It feels like a homecoming. The stone, which was taken from the earth to build this place, is now providing a home for the children of the earth. The cycle is completing itself, not in an act of destruction, in an act of profound and beautiful transformation. The purpose of this space, Haspen, was to preserve knowledge against the chaos of the world. Now, its purpose is to demonstrate the quiet, unassailable power of life itself. Meaning has not been erased, but gracefully rewritten in a language of leaf and stem and root. Feeling a deep sense of peace, you leave the wild garden of the library and continue your ascent. Your path now leads you to one of the great ceremonial causeways, a long, wide avenue of stone that connects one of the mortuary temples at the foot of the plateau to the pyramid itself, which now looms impossibly large before you. The causeway is flanked by high walls, and it rises at a steady, gentle angle. It was designed for slow, grand processions, for the solemn, final journey of the king. It was, in a sense, a stage, a theater for the performance of the most sacred rites of passage. You step onto the causeway, and the feel of the stone under your feet is different. These are not rough foundational blocks. They are smooth, massive flagstones, polished by the passage of countless feet, both ancient and modern. You begin to walk up the gentle slope, your footsteps echoing slightly between the high, parallel walls. The walls on either side block your view of the wider landscape, focusing your entire world on the path ahead and the immense triangular face of the pyramid that fills the sky at its end. The moonlight streams down into this long, narrow corridor, creating a path of pure, white light. It feels as if you are walking on a river of milk. You imagine the scene as it once was. The slow, solemn procession, the air thick with incense, the sound of chanting, the low, mournful notes of a reed flute. The priests in their white linen robes, the sacred barquet of the sun god carried on their shoulders, the slow, rhythmic pace of their march towards the gateway of eternity. The walls on either side of you were glowing with painted reliefs. The air was vibrating with sacred sound. It was a place of immense, focused energy, a conduit for the human soul. But now, the theater is silent. The actors are long gone. The audience is the moon and the stars. The performance that is happening now is one of light and shadow, of silence and stone. As you walk, you watch your own shadow stretch out long before you, a single dark figure on the bright stage. The only sound is the sound of your own quiet breath, your own soft footsteps. The great transformation is complete here. The space has been emptied of its original ritual, its human drama, but it has been filled with something else, a vast, cosmic peace. It is no longer a stage for a human story, but a stage for the slow, silent drama of the universe itself. The play is the slow turning of the earth, the patient procession of the constellations across the sky. The meaning of this place has expanded, from the story of a single king's journey to the story of time itself. It is a transformation not from sacred to profane, but from one kind of sacredness to another, quieter, vaster, and perhaps even more profound. You continue your slow walk up the causeway, feeling not like an intruder, but like a quiet member of the audience, privileged to witness this long, silent, and beautiful performance. You are ascending towards the final act. You stand at the top of the great ceremonial causeway. The immense, moonlit face of the pyramid rises directly before you, a mountain of silent, waiting stone that seems to swallow the sky. The air up here, at this higher elevation, is thinner, cooler, and carries a clean, mineral scent from the millions of tons of limestone. You pause for a moment, letting the sheer scale of the structure wash over you, a feeling that quiets the mind and stills the soul. You are at the culmination of the processional path, the final threshold before the house of eternity. The gentle reclamation you witnessed in the temple gardens and on the faded walls feels different here. This structure seems to resist time with a profound, unshakable stillness, its transformation less about decay and more about a slow, deep integration into the planet itself. You feel your own stillness as part of the vast, peaceful cycle of the universe. And with this feeling, you breathe. A long, slow, deep breath that feels as if it reaches down to the very foundations of the rock beneath your feet. You turn from the pyramid's base, choosing not to dwell on the entrance to the tomb, but instead seeking a different kind of culmination for your journey. Your gaze is drawn to a high sand dune that has, over centuries, drifted and settled against the western side of the plateau, its crest rising to a soft, curved peak that offers an uninterrupted panorama of the entire necropolis and the desert beyond. This is your final destination, an elevated, quiet viewpoint, a place to move from being an explorer within the complex to a peaceful observer of the whole. The journey to its peak is slow and meditative. With each step, your feet sink into the deep, cool sand, the whisper of the displaced grains, the only sound. It is not a difficult climb, but it requires a deliberate, rhythmic pace, a walking that is in itself a form of contemplation. The sand is incredibly soft, like fine, cool flour, and its texture is a soothing counterpoint to the hard, unyielding stone you have been walking on. As you ascend, the world expands. The high walls of the causeway and temples fall away, and the vast open horizon returns, wider and more profound than before. You feel a sense of lightness, of release, as if you are slowly rising out of the intricate human story written in the stones below and into a larger, more cosmic perspective. The wind, which was buffered by the temple walls, now greets you again, a steady, gentle current flowing from the heart of the great western desert. It feels ancient and pure, a river of air that has traveled over 1,000 miles of empty sand just to meet you here. Finally, you reach the summit of the dune. You have arrived. You turn, and the view that unfolds before you is one of sublime, breathtaking stillness. Below you, the three Great Pyramids are laid out, like a carefully placed constellation on the dark earth, their perfect triangular forms catching the silver moonlight, their long, geometric shadows stretching across the plateau, like the dark fingers of a sundial, marking a slow, nocturnal hour. From this height, they no longer feel like individual buildings. They have become a single, unified geological feature, a man-made mountain range that has earned its place as a permanent feature of the Earth's crust. The sprawling, chaotic lights of modern Cairo and Giza are a distant, shimmering nebula on the eastern horizon, a silent reminder of the world you have left behind, its noise and urgency rendered small and insignificant by the immense, quiet space that separates you from it. You sit down on the crest of the dune, the sand molding itself perfectly to your form, a soft, cool embrace, and you simply watch. The cadence of your thoughts begins to slow, the sentences of your inner world becoming longer, more flowing, mirroring the vast, unbroken lines of the landscape before you. The light of the moon on the pale limestone of the pyramids creates an illusion of softness, a texture that seems to yield and breathe. And as you watch, the steady, constant breeze sends shimmering, almost invisible veils of sand drifting across their ancient faces, a sight that connects the solidness of the stone to the fluid movement of the air. And from that connection, a deeper silence seems to emerge. This is the sensory loop the final scene is built on. From the silver light on stone, to the imagined soft texture, to the sound of the wind, which then dissolves into a profound, all-encompassing silence. You lift your gaze from the earth and turn it towards the sky. The night is now at its deepest. The moon, a brilliant silver sickle, hangs in a sky that is not black, but a deep, clear indigo, and it is crowded with a breathtaking multitude of stars. Here, away from the glare of the city, the heavens reveal their true, staggering glory. The Milky Way is a luminous, cloud-like river stretching from one horizon to the other, a soft, glittering path of countless suns so distant they merge into a single ethereal glow. You can see constellations. You recognize the steady, familiar shape of Orion, the hunter, the elegant W of Cassiopeia, and you feel a connection to the ancient astronomers who stood on this very plateau, charting these same celestial patterns, seeing in them the forms of their gods and the map of their cosmology. You let your eyes relax, taking in the whole of the sky at once. You are not just looking at stars, you are looking at light that has traveled for thousands, even millions of years to reach you. You are looking at a visible record of deep time. The light touching your eyes at this very moment is older than the pyramids themselves. This thought does not feel overwhelming. It feels peaceful, profoundly humbling. It dissolves the small boundaries of your own life, your own time, and integrates you into a much grander, slower story. The stillness of the pyramids below seems to be a reflection of the silent, steady turning of the stars above. They are in dialogue with each other, stone and starlight, earth and cosmos, and you are privileged to be sitting here in perfect stillness as a silent witness to their timeless conversation. And here, in the quiet, you find your breath again. Its frequency increases now, not in pace, but in your awareness of it. Each breath is a conscious anchor in this vastness. You breathe in the cool, clean desert air, the air that is filled with the light of ancient suns. You breathe out, and you release everything you are holding onto your thoughts, your memories, your sense of self, and you let it all dissolve into the immense peace of the night. You are not just an observer anymore. The boundary between you and the scene begins to blur. You feel the deep, unshakable stillness of the pyramids in your own bones, the solid, grounding presence of the earth beneath you. You feel the cool, steady flow of the wind on your skin, and you feel it as the breath of the planet itself, a slow, rhythmic exhalation that has continued for eons. The light of the distant stars seems to fall not just upon you, but into you, until you feel as if you are holding a quiet, inner constellation within your own heart. You are a part of this. Your own stillness is a small contribution to the great cosmic stillness of the universe. You remain for a long time, unmoving, as the moon continues its slow, majestic arc across the sky. The shadows of the pyramids pivot with an imperceptible slowness, their dark tips tracing the passage of the hours on the sand. You are not waiting for anything. You are not thinking of the past or the future. You are simply present, in a state of deep, restful integration with the world around you. There is no need to move, no need to speak, no need to think. There is only the need to be. The closing scene, the final image that can loop indefinitely in your mind, settles upon a single, perfect detail. Your gaze drifts down to the base of the nearest pyramid, to a single, massive block of stone. The wind, in its constant, gentle passage, is lifting a few fine grains of sand from the dune and carrying them across the face of this stone. You watch this happen. A tiny, shimmering stream of silver dust, visible for just a moment as it crosses a patch of bright moonlight before disappearing into shadow. It is the softest, most gentle of movements. It is the sound of time itself made visible, the slow, patient, and unending process of transformation. The dune breathing onto the pyramid, the earth reclaiming its own. It is an image of perfect, timeless stillness in motion. The constant, gentle drift of sand across ancient stone, under the silent, watchful light of the moon, a process that has continued for thousands of years and will continue for thousands more, long after you are gone. And in this moment, witnessing this, you are part of that eternity. The stillness deepens, and your breath follows, and you are at peace.